how does Gurmat worldview look at bipolar? So, before we look at bipolar as a disorder, I think it's worth looking at experiential reality. Tat, Gurbani describes this as Tat. Let's look at the nature of life. The nature of life is such that we see that everything appears to be in duality. So we have day, we have night. We have health, we have illness. We have life, we have death. We have happiness, we have sadness. We have pain, we have pleasure. So we notice that even our aesthetic values, beauty, we have beauty, we have ugliness. We have success, we have failure. We have strength, we have weakness. So we think and we are taught to believe that life exists in this duality. And particularly in the modern world and the Western kind of worldview, the idea is that we maintain health, we keep life, we keep youth, we keep beauty, we keep success, we keep strength, but we remove all the negatives. And this idea that we can somehow, in a world of duality, in an experience of duality, that we can exclude a whole half of duality is like trying to exclude one side of the coin. You cannot have a coin without two sides. And the same is true for our experience in life. So now let's look at this from a position of our health and well-being. So from a Gurmat perspective, our emotions are subject to our identity's interaction with the world, with thoughts, with events, with stimulus. So, when we experience anger, it automatically reduces compassion. And as compassion decreases, you will also notice resentment and anger increase. Anger and compassion are two parts of the same coin. So you will notice many times in your experience you've had an outburst of anger, and then a few moments later, or perhaps even a day or two later, you will question that, and you will feel some level of compassion towards the other. So perhaps you hurt them, perhaps you shouldn't have said what you said, or did what you did. So compassion and anger are two sides of the same coin. When we feel ecstatic and happy, it is natural that the fatigue, tiredness, long periods of sleep, change in diet are going to occur too. So we find that life is subject to these two poles. We operate in this oankar, we operate in this duality, all of us do. So if we then look a little bit further, we will notice that our emotions are simply subject to this natural law. So before you or before your children, you send your children to doctors because of their mood disorders, it might be worthwhile looking at and enabling them to look at themselves. Approach this through a mindfulness-based intervention in which you can look at the way your mind operates and generates a particular space within yourself, an emotional state, such that you recognize that this is part of being a human being. Of course, this excludes very long periods, but in that case, we have to look at the diagnosis. The diagnosis for long periods of depression, long periods of hopelessness, are because the diagnosis, the symptoms that are depressive, are used for depression, insomnia, fatigue, irritability, sadness, hopelessness, are all symptoms. They are symptoms of feeling threatened, feeling trapped, feeling lost. So when we enable the individual to look at depression not as an illness, but as a moment for transformation, a moment to grow, a moment to evolve, we can truly tackle the symptoms of depression in a more positive and holistic and helpful way. So these are some of the insights from a Gurmat psychotherapeutic point of view. In order to recognize human beings, their behavior, and ourselves, self-regulate, self-manage, and self-evolve, we need to take hold of one particular skill, That is to learn how to know ourselves. And the only way in is through meditation.